Only one player out of 100 plays this opening, yet it's so powerful. It starts with the move d6. Once I started to play it, my win rate just skyrocketed. Then you play knight to f6. You attack the central pawn immediately. I play here against a very strong player, yet I'm gonna just destroy him with this opening. If I'm gonna miserably lose after saying that, that would be a pity. But my idea is to play e5 and fight for the center. They cannot play e5 themselves, never be afraid of that. We just take it, then we take the queen and play knight g4, just winning the game on the spot, attacking those two pawns. So normally they go for knight c3, and now we play e5. The Philidor defense starts. They can take it, or they can play knight f3. If they take, we get this endgame, which is my favorite variation. I have a lot of games in this variation in the playlist. Please take a look if you are afraid of that. Basically, the king is doing very good in the center, but knight f3 is the key line, the main one. Now we just play knight e7 and defend it. I have an entire opening course based on this opening so that you can build your lifetime opening repertoire. The link would be in the description. More on that later on. I'm ready to play bishop e7 and castle. The main advantage of this opening is that you can play it every single time against absolutely everyone and everything. This is the universal defense. And so you just skip those years of memorization you typically need, and you just enjoy chess instead. You also gather so much experience playing here because you do it every single time, whereas your opponent sees it once out of 100 games. This is why I love not mainstream openings. Most of the people tell you, well, play the Caro-Kann, it's such a great opening, but everybody plays it. So your opponents also have a lot of experience playing it. But if you play the Philidor, nobody is prepared against it. c6 is the move I want to start here with, because after bishop e7, there is this annoying g4 sacrifice, and I don't want to allow that. Now after castles, bishop e7 would be perfect. Okay, h3. He still wants to go for it. That's his right. By the way, a lot of players love to do that, so you need to know how to handle that variation. And of course, I covered that in my course. But for now, let's just play bishop e7, because I feel like h3, g4, bishop e2, you waste quite a lot of time to achieve all of that. And meanwhile, I'm going to be able to get my counterplay. Maybe b5 immediately was a move. Yeah, now I'm definitely ready for that. I'm threatening b4, which is just winning that pawn. You notice that I don't really need any time to think of my moves. That is such a huge point, because you would need that time later on in the game to figure out some tactical complications or to beat your opponent in the endgame. So you get this clarity from move 1, what you need to do, as well as how to transition into the middle game, because you understand the ideas very well here. You make those 7 moves first. I can castle first, but I anticipate him to start the attack, so I'm not too in a hurry to bring my king to the side of the board where he's gonna attack. But in the meantime, I use these moves to create counterplay. In chess, that is the most important thing, to have something to attack, because if you're just passively waiting, your opponent is gonna come and destroy you. My opponent tells in the chat that he also plays the Pierce defense. I don't play the Pierce defense. I play the Philidor, as I never played g6. It's not the Pierce defense. Anyway, b4 is not a threat just yet. He can take, and then my rook is hanging. But I want to play bishop b7, and then b4 becomes an idea as well. Alternatively, I could have started with bishop b7. Doesn't really matter that much. It gives him this additional opportunity of playing d5, but I'm basically never afraid of d5. I can even answer with bishop b7, and then in the end of the day, this e4 pawn would be hanging. Okay, he finally castles short instead of long and going for this attack. But that is a little bit weird, because it's not connected to his entire plan. Anyway, we just continue. Bishop to b7, so now d5 is never a problem for us. And b4 becomes an idea, and of course, we are going to castle at some point. If they play bishop c4, then it's important to castle immediately. Otherwise, some bishop takes f7 checks are possible. But if the bishop is on e2, there is no danger for my king. If they ever take on e5, never a problem, you just take it back. Just be careful to never ever lose this e5 pawn. Because some of my students, I'm showing this opening, they try to play it and then they horribly lose and they're like, the opening doesn't work. And I'm analyzing the game and they're just blundering this key pawn of the entire opening. Of course, if you lose it, nothing is gonna work. So just make sure that you have enough defenders for it. But now the typical b4 idea is coming, and then how do you even defend the pawn? Like rook e1 doesn't help because you have a bunch of bishops standing on the line. You'd never want to play b4 yourself. He plays d5, okay. Now I can still play b4 actually. I can take it and just exchange everything, that's fine. b4, probably he wants to take over here and then play knight d5. But even there I can just take. Let's go for it. You want to be in the driver's seat, the one creating this threat. This is the key point. I'm attacking the knight, I'm attacking the pawn, I'm attacking this pawn, and my opponent has to solve all of those problems. This is the key point of how you beat anyone under 2000 elo. You create problems for them, and then they struggle to solve it, and they lose, because inevitably they start making some mistakes. But if you don't create any threats, then it's easy for them to play. Please never forget about that. Okay, takes, now we don't want to take here, because a lot of pieces are hanging. So we take it back, and then the e4, the key pawn, is hanging. Knight d5, one thing we need to consider how dangerous it is that they are taking our bishop. But that is not such an important bishop, it's passive anyway, defending that pawn. But we are going to have our knight in the center of the board defending that. And our bishop is so beautiful. Maybe one thing they can do is take on b4 and take the rook. But that also wouldn't help because our queen is supporting the entire diagonal. They play knight b5. That is actually smart. And you know why? Because if I play knight e4, yes, I defend the pawn. But the idea is to take on b4 now. And if I take it back, he can take on a8. And if queen takes, then knight c7, I hope you can follow my variation, just wins a queen. But I can just take it back with the bishop in that. And then everything is protected. I like it. The alternative is here after takes to take here, but that is something I never want to do. Never ever exchange your bishop for a knight without a very good reason to do that. One thing that is slightly bothering me, I never had time to make these castles. That is normally not what you should do. But I hope it's not a problem, because otherwise I'm grabbing a central pawn and basically strategically just winning here. All I need to do is make sure my opponent doesn't have super dangerous counterplay. And you should be very careful with that. Doesn't matter how great your position is, it's never too late to spoil it, so be careful with the threats. Okay, he wants to exchange that knight and then again take on d6. So every time your opponent makes a move, forget about everything you have thought about and think, what is the idea behind that move? It's actually not just to exchange. You might think, okay, I can take it back, but the d6 pawn is a problem. I can play knight d to f6, trying to solve that. What I don't like is that after the exchange he can attack me again, but my queen is already participating. Knight c5 is another way to do the same stuff. I'm not sure if there is difference. Intuitively, I feel like my knight can be vulnerable. So let me play knight f6. Again, I don't have time to castle. Please give me one move. I'm gonna castle and claim I'm winning. Until that, you know, I feel like there might be some kind of initiative. Very important not to take with the queen, as knight c7 would win the game. But otherwise, quite often we do take with the queen, so that we are very powerful on this diagonal. I just tactically cannot do it right now. Hopefully, now I finally can castle. Okay, knight c4. Right now, this is not a threat. I have enough defenders. Maybe he wants to play f3, but then I get knight g3 with a tempo. Maybe he wants to play bishop f3, but that does not even create a threat. So I'm gonna castle. Now that my king is secure, I'm ready to play seriously here and punish my opponent for making so many moves with the same pieces. That is just wasting your time, not something you should do in chess. My next idea could be queen to b8, just attacking this guy and asking a question like, what do you do with this? And that also would help me to bring my rook either to d8 or to c8, depending on the situation. Ideally, the move I want to make is d5. By the way, queen b8 helps with that tremendously, because the pawn on e5 would be protected and d5 becomes possible. He goes for f3, yeah, desperately trying to get this pawn back. But now knight g3 is possible. The most active move, so definitely I go there. And as for the pawn, maybe I can even solve the problem via knight to d5, just blocking the file for now. Or I need to think about some tactics, like d5 and then attacking some stuff. Or maybe just taking it here and playing queen to b8. And then if he takes, I play rook to d8 and pin the guy. Maybe even immediately, because if I take, he has this chance to play rook d2 later on. But I can just leave the knight there, it's not hanging. By the way, knight f5 backwards is possible to again defend the pawn and attack the really important bishop dark squares one. Interesting. But let's check this direct variation. Queen to b8, some knight is gonna take, I don't know, and then rook d8. Can you save? You can play bishop c5 to save the knight. But I can continue that attack with knight e8, and sooner or later you just don't have enough attackers, or maybe knight f5. I like it, let's go for it. I'm not even sacrificing anything because I had an extra pawn, so the material would be equal, but good luck to my opponent trying to save that. Also, like, look at this bishop, how beautiful it is. I can always play e4, trying to create some weaknesses. He already has a lot of weaknesses in the dark squares. This feels super dangerous for him. If he doesn't take, then I'm ready to play d5. And once I play d5, basically you just win the game. Go d4, e4, and destroy him. But I find it very important that we don't take on e2. That would make life easier for your opponent, and you never want to do that. Knight b6. Now, pause the video for a second and find the best move for black, and then try to compare it with what I'm gonna play. I don't like the move knight b6 in general for him, because that removes the pressure from this pawn, and that means I can just go away with the bishop. But first I probably want to exchange, because now he's ready to go away, and then, you know, this d5 square would be available for him. But now, once I play bishop c6, that's gonna attack this knight. So I make every single move with the tempo. That is what we are trying to achieve. Okay, queen takes, so that is protected. That's smart. But on the other hand, I can even play d5 immediately. That would give up this bishop though. Probably I don't want to do that. I cannot give up my beautiful bishop. I think I still can play d5. Even if he plays rook d1, I play d5, I have enough defenders. And otherwise, I'm threatening to play d4 and just win the knight. This is super scary for him. Those knights, they stand great. They're actually not achieving anything. It's all about the threats in chess. Don't play hope chess, when you play queen to b6 and just hope to take the bishop. And then if your opponent goes away, then you have no idea how to continue. Okay, queen to c4, at least creating a threat, I like it. But what about just queen to b7? The knight cannot attack me and d5 is still coming. And now it's coming with a tempo, so it's even worse for him. At some point, even bishop takes f3 becomes an idea, sacrificing a bishop and just getting to my opponent. This is the kind of result you're gonna get after completing my 10-day opening mastery course. Right now, you get an amazing offer. You get a full month of live coaching with me included in the course. I'm going to analyze your games, play games with you, help you integrate this opening into your opening repertoire, as well as the respective opening for white, where you're going to destroy everyone from the beginning. My opponent takes it on b4. So don't forget to grab your limited spot. The link would be in the description. Check it out. But, I mean, this can never work. Yes, you win the pawn back, but who cares about the pawns? I can just play d5. Am I blind or am I just winning? d5, attacking the queen, threatening d4, attacking the bishop, attacking the knight. Maybe bishop c5 is your idea, but guess what? Queen takes b6. The tactics are going to work out for me, as after takes, I'm going to queen your... I'm going to take your queen, and you cannot take my bishop because your bishop is pinned. And the queen, remember, it has to defend this knight, so everything is connected. Those knights are so weak and vulnerable. Basically, whenever you can make the move d5 possible in the Philidor defense, always and always consider it. It's our dream move. And here, once we make it, we basically are winning immediately. That is how powerful it is. Our king is safe, so we have nothing to worry about and can go all in into the attack. I don't even see a move that allows my opponent to keep all of his material. Those knights are just not... The more pieces you have vulnerable in your camp, the more chances are that you are gonna lose some of your pieces. Queen a5. Pause the video for a second, trying to figure out the winning move. I don't think I can resist the temptation of playing the move d4. It has drawbacks, that it gives the c4 square for my opponent, but he cannot do that. d4 is just winning. As if the bishop goes back, then I even have bishop to d8, pinning and attacking my opponent's knight, or just rook to b8. I always like to add more and more pieces into the attack. I haven't played rook b8 before. For example, here, instead of d5, I could have played rook b8, but it does not create any threats because the knight is protected. Now, rook to b8 does create a threat because it attacks the knight and the second knight behind it. So, best case scenario, you want to combine developing your pieces and creating threats for your opponent at the same time. I don't know, maybe he can take that, but... yeah, that's his best chance. Maybe bishop d8 was a little bit cleaner, so that this bishop is not hanging. But first, I can take it anyway. And second, I can play bishop d8 now. Yeah, I don't like that I'm losing those pawns. Anyway, an extra piece is an extra piece. Yes, rook takes. Now the question is, do I play bishop d8 or do I just take it? I feel like it's kind of the same, but here I force the queen's exchange, which is great if you are picking some material up. And then rook takes e7, I take there. Or he can take on d4. Yeah, let's take. I think that's, in every case, good enough. At some point, you convert your positional, your strategic advantage into a material one. And that is exactly what happens here. It's not like I never make mistakes, and that's exactly the point. I don't want you to show an opening that only works if you make all of the perfect moves. No, even if I make mistakes here, I'm still completely winning, just because this opening is so solid and it gives you so many interesting opportunities. All right, yes, he wants to get those 2 pawns for the knight. I don't have any way to save the pawn anyway. Probably just let's take it. And now we are gonna see a very instructive endgame. The opponent is pretty strong. I want to play king f8 first to attack this guy. I'm never afraid of taking. That's gonna make it simpler for me. But I don't want to blunder some checkmating ideas. Oh yeah, that actually can be pretty dangerous. Because he has bishop c5 check. Okay, my bishop is in the center, that cannot be bad. Bishop c5, king a8, check, just king d8. Maybe I want to relocate it somewhere here, then a d5 is possible. He can start with rook c8, but that does not change anything. Wait, what? How on earth did I blunder that? This is so stupid. How could I have played bishop d5 and blunder rook c4 in just one move? Oh my god. This is so bad. I cannot play rook b4 because this is in the wrong place. I can play knight e8, but not gonna help me much. Well, let's try it. Oh, he can even play bishop c5, or he's threatening bishop c5 now. That was so stupid of me. Now he can just take it and take there. It's going to be a draw, but so winning. Okay, he goes for bishop c5, which is a little bit more interesting because at least, I mean, I have to take it, otherwise I'm checkmated. But now I have two bishops for the rook. But he has two passers, so of course, yeah, that is pretty powerful. Nevertheless, I'm gonna do my best. My king is pretty active, his king is pretty far away for now from the actions, and my pieces are not that bad. So let's see if I'm gonna have any chances here. First, I can attack this rook, like the pawn is hanging. That basically already gives me a draw. Or he must give up his pawn on c4, which he doesn't want to do. Ah no, he has that. But now it's like you cannot move anything. Because if the rook goes away, then the c4 pawn is hanging. I just need to be fast enough to attack the rook or to create some sort of threat. So I have knight f6 and knight d7. Yeah, of course, he is going to be able to attack that, but what can I do? Oh, maybe I can do something. The alternative is to go over here, but that I somehow like even less. Maybe I'm wrong. What is better? Knight c7, king to e3, knight a6. I don't like this rook g5 move. I want to play g6 and then f5 and somehow make this rook stupid there. Because if I give it up, yes, I do get all of those pawns, but he again has a passer, and I don't like it. And if I play knight f6, king e3, knight d7, then still rook g5, g6, play c5. Ah wait, he can even play king to d4. Then my knight is in the wrong place. Okay, let's play knight c6 knight c7 so that I can create more threats, attack more stuff. How could I have spoiled such a nice position? That's my biggest problem in chess, just missing this opponent's counterplay. Sometimes it's very obvious, like here. This is just a stupid blunder. Sometimes it's less obvious, but still the key point is to always and always make sure you follow your opponent's counterplay. Rook g5, g6, f5. He can play rook g5 now. Okay. But what if I play knight a6? I don't like it. I feel like you always want to bring the king towards the center instead. Because if I want to play g6, then f4 is not changing anything. Let me go for it. Rook b5, I'm just taking it there. Or rook a5, the same. f5 anyway. Yeah, that's again something I have blundered. But I'm not sure it's good for him. Knight takes c5. He takes back and just take back with the knight, so he has to take here. I take it. Then he has to take, I take it back. And I'm going to be an extra pawn in that endgame. Knight takes. Oh, I also noticed there is knight takes b4 as an idea, but I like it. Yeah, I like it less. He can take here, and then wait, I have knight to d3 check. That is fascinating. He takes. I take. I play knight d3 check. Then I take here, and then I'm in time to actually stop that pawn, and that is winning. Knight b4. Wow, that's an amazing resource. If he plays rook b5, I can play knight d3 check, king to e3, and bishop takes c4. And if I'm not losing it immediately, then I'm just winning 2 pawns on the spot. But I'm also curious about this pawn endgame. Knight takes c5. He has to take. King takes. Takes. I'm taking the pawn in the game if he's doing nothing, so he has to play actively. King e3. I take it. King e4. And I cannot save the pawn on e6. But meantime, I can go forward with my king. King d3. Takes. King e3. There. In f2, and I'm not in time. If I start with h5, when the kings are there, king e5, king d3, takes, king e3, king f7, king f2, takes. That is winning. Hope you can follow my variation. So in the pawn endgame, the key move is h5, but I feel like he has a way to improve the variation. For example, he can start with the move g4. And then if I take, he's going to come and take. I don't like it. Okay, let's consider knight b4 again. The rook is hanging, and knight d3 is coming. So rook b5 seems to be kind of forced. Then I have knight d3 check, king e3, and I take it. Cannot immediately attack the bishop. That is so great. And if you play rook b6 check, yeah, even just king c5. Let's go for it. I feel like this is my best chance. And that is this is conceptually the wrong idea from my opponent. All he needed to do is just bring your king into the center. Pretty much everybody under 2000 elo completely forgets about the importance of your king's activity. I might blunder tactics because somehow today is not my best day, but this simple understanding of the principle is so essential, and hopefully you don't make this mistake in your games. Okay, I understand the problem now. After I play knight d3 and bishop c4, his king is on a3. King d4 is the move that I don't want him to make. At first, it's okay, because I play bishop c4, I'm attacking his rook, and he needs to spend a tempo. If he goes rook b7 or something, I have time to play knight e5, and then I'm all fine. If he plays rook b6 check, then I have time again to play king c5 and stop him from playing king d4. He could have played king to d4 on his own way earlier. he hasn't used his chance, and now he struggles because of that. And if I can get both of those pawns without losing any pieces, then I can easily play for a win. It's 3 against 3, but 2 pieces are stronger than the rook. Let's see. First, I need to stabilize the situation. That is essential here. Make sure I'm not losing any pieces. This pawn on f5 is good. It's not allowing me to have my bishop very stable on e6. And this might be a weakness. Okay, where should my king go? King e5 feels logical in terms of going to the center, but some tactics might be a problem. For example, that. Have knight b2 or something. King c5 feels logical in terms of saving all of the pieces, but not so logical in terms of going away from actually what's important, the king side. King to d5 is like between the two, but I don't like rook b7 and he's attacking here. And then if I play king e5, then we have the same rook c7. So I guess I have to play king to c5. And then I have time to at least make sure I'm not losing any pieces, save my knights, and step by step stabilize the situation. For example, I really love this move knight e5 because the knight in the center, it controls so many squares. For example, it defends the bishop, so rook c7 I can easily meet with king to d6. King e4 is also not possible because of bishop d5 check. King to f4, well, king to d6, I don't know, maybe king to d5 was possible. Now I'm just king to d6 back. Maybe he wants to play king d4, finally. But once I stabilize the station, that's already easier to deal with. For example, bishop d5 might be a move. Attacking there, preparing knight c6, check. Unfortunately, I cannot play f6, because this g7 pawn would always be a weakness. Let's see what he does, because it's essential where the rook is going. If it goes here, then it's not attacking the bishop anymore. If it goes here, then it's not attacking the pawn anymore. I like the move bishop f1, although I need to be careful with my pieces there. Maybe he's gonna play that and create some threats, although I have knight c6 check. Maybe he wants to play rook g8, but I have g6, right? And then I can take it and maybe create potentially a passer, also bring my king closer. By the way, g6 is not a stupid idea at all. But let's start with bishop f1. I feel like it's a little bit risky, but if I want to win the game, then I need to take some risks. King to f4 is not even a real threat. I can still take it, and rook d8 check, just knight d7 back. No problem. This rook is not really that powerful. It cannot give me a lot of checks, like it would have been possible on a8. He can go back, of course, and defend his pawn, but that again gives me time to stabilize the situation. Or king f2, right? Now again, I wanted to improve my position. Maybe even bishop a6, sorry. Not sure if it makes sense. Bishop d3, he's gonna play g4, unfortunately. I want to play bishop b5. I feel like the bishop is very solid here, ready to join me whenever I go. Supports the attack, the defense. But yeah, I should be careful not to allow him exchange too much stuff, because it's gonna make it too simple. This king is coming to g3. Maybe I have pushed it to the wrong direction. I mean, it's not dangerous for my king. That's very good, but there are some drawbacks. Okay, he's smart. He wants to play rook h7. Haven't seen that. His rook would be a little bit weird, but I don't see a way to take advantage of that. I can play g6, but he's gonna create a passer, and that is dangerous territory, and I have double pawns. That is a chance to win the game, but also to lose the game. Let me do that. I don't know. Because I feel if I allow him just to win the pawn, I'm not gonna have any chances to play for a win. Here I can take it, at least my pieces are going to be flexible, because this pawn is so annoying for me somehow. Maybe I should have played bishop d3 instead of bishop e5. Now if he takes, of course, I'm happy to take back with the h-pawn, then not losing anything. But I mean, it's a commitment for my opponent. I make it difficult for him. He took his decision, okay. Now I can bring my king to help. Also, this pawn hopefully is not going to be that powerful, because I'm always ready to bring my pieces back. The bishop, I feel like it's a little bit misplaced again. If I play here, then he has this check, although the check is not a problem, because then the rook is going to be attacked. Maybe f6, I'm not sure how great that move is. Maybe I want to play f4. That is kind of limiting his potential. I mean, obviously I want to play king f6. But f4 and king f5 is also an idea. And also the bishop is gonna control the diagonal there. Feels like I have chances to win this game, especially considering the fact that my opponent doesn't have a lot of time. Yeah, that is a little bit annoying. But earlier I couldn't really have played f4. Yeah, finally my opponent realizes that he needs to bring the king to the game. Let me bring my king as well. If he goes that, I have king g7, rook b6, bishop d7, and I feel that this remaneuvering should help. Then bring the bishop to e6, block this rank from the rook, then I can go forward with my king, all of my pawns are protected, the knight can jump whenever it wants to jump. So that is interesting. Yeah, I wish my bishop was on c4, although that also has drawbacks. You never know. Definitely the ideal square for me to go is e6. It's essential in endgame that you want to use all of your pieces combined. You want to create as many problems for your opponent using all of your pieces, not just taking one knight and trying to jump here and there. It's not going to work. Okay, well, knight g6 is not an option, so I have to play king g7. And now bishop c4. Oh, wait. Knight c4. That's a fork. If you are fighting against the knight, you should always and always be careful with forks. But what's funny, I also calculated rook b6 and I wasn't looking at that. Okay, so it's 1-1 in terms of big blunders in this game. That allows me to win. In this playlist, you can learn so much more about this amazing opening to finally achieve your chess goals. And don't forget about the amazing opportunity 10-day opening master right now, 50% off, and you get a full month of live coaching if you are fast to grab your limited spot.